So again, we can move the process around any way we'd like, but those three parts all have to exist, with the third part being, of course, the actual report. Now, the VIP from day two, that very important product from day two, is that they're like, holy cow, like if day one was, oh my God, I need to see what's going on or find out what's going on with these films. Day two is, oh my God, what am I going to do about it? How do I fix this and get this under control right away? So where it was, oh my God, what's on my films? Day two is, oh my God, how do I correct my films? How do I correct my problem? So if that urgency isn't there, then we know there's an issue. And this gets back to where the staff comes in once again, where the team comes in, because if they go to the front, that's really where we find out if they're taking it seriously. Because if they're concerned about the time, if they're concerned about coming back, if they're concerned about the spouse, then first of all, it means the doctor didn't get it done. So staff, your job is you hold up the fence. So if you go to the front and the patient's balking, you can't just let the patient balk. We know, after we have our layers of resistance, we'll hit that on a future call, that if we can't get it done at the front, we got to go back and get them back to the doctor. But we don't let them out the door, and we didn't get that VIP done. We don't let them out the door, and they're not concerned. So if you're doing it in 3 days, they don't get to go out the door on day one if they're not freaked and anxious to find out what's going on in their x-rays. And we know that because they don't care seemingly that much about getting back. Tomorrow's no good for them, or that time's no good for them, or this week's no good for them, or I'm going out of town, can I catch you when I get back? If that's the case, we've got a problem. We didn't create our VIP. For part two, same thing. Oh, my spouse can't come, or tomorrow's no good. We got the same problem. We didn't create the VIP. We need to either create it by resistance at the front or by bringing them back in touch with the doctor. And when they bring me back, by the way, into that, I always say the same thing to the patient. What seems to be the challenge? I mean, you heard what's going on. What's the matter? So they see that I'm pretty steadfast in my approach to coming back, because I'm still anchored to the fact of what we saw. What happens is the patient's now beginning to get fuzzy. Their brain is starting to reject the information. This happens, by the way. You could be an oncologist or a cardiologist, and it works exactly the same way. They just found out that. So, like like my mother-in-law recently found out she had cancer, and so she has never listened to us, and so we feel, okay, good, we finally have a chance for her to listen to us. So she finds out she has cancer. So at that moment, she's like, okay, that's it. So she had us do all the gut testing and the food sensitivities, and gave her a new diet. She had us do the whole thing like we've been wanting her to do for 10 years. And then within a matter of hours to a day, she was like, well, I was looking it up online. I'm not sure that I really have cancer. I called a friend of mine. Their doctor said the same thing. They never changed anything, and they're fine. So immediately, even with cancer, that resistance occurs. If you ever have a chance to talk to an oncologist or a cardiologist, ask them how resistant and how much in denial their patients get. And it's no worse than ours. So when they go to the front and they're already resisting, that is actually a normal psychological process. When you hear bad news, you've probably heard this before, stage one of dealing with bad news is denial. So now, they're in a chiropractic office, they certainly weren't expecting any of this. So what do you expect them to have by the time they get to the front? There's, for many people, a healthy dose of denial. So we don't succumb to that. The front desk, we have to hold up our fence. Listen, the process is you got to come back tomorrow. You got to sit in the waiting room, and he'll tell you what he found, or she'll tell you what she found, because this is serious. And so you've got it. So one of the things we've said is what they're really doing at that point in the case of denial is they're saying, you know what, just like my mother-in-law, is this really that serious? I know you told me I'm dying, but am I really dying? I just texted 3 friends. They said that I'm not really dying. They said they heard the same thing, and they're fine. Like that's exactly the normal response. So they're asking you at the front desk, they're asking the doctor, am I really dying? Is it really that serious? Is it really that important? I come back tomorrow. It's just a question. It's not objection. It's a natural state of denial. It's the natural psychological process. And it's a question. Is it really that important? So when the front desk says, listen, you need to get here tomorrow, the doctor would not have said you need to come tomorrow if it wasn't that vital and critical. You'd be back tomorrow at the first appointment. When you say that, realize for a lot of people, like, oh, okay, I guess it really is that important. And it takes them out of denial, and it answers the question, is it that important? When I come up as a doctor, the reason I use that language, what's the challenge, is because they need to realize that, hey, this is real. Like, how could you possibly have run into a challenge already from the 30 seconds I just saw you to now? Something changed already. What's going on? Like, there must be a big problem here because you just heard what I said. So it's not done in anger or hey, why are you rejecting me or not following my plan? It's none of that. It's simply towing the line so that the answer to their question, and it's an unconscious question, and it's a silent question. The answer to the question, is this real? The answer is emphatically, yes, this is real. So that's a big part of this day 2 process, or this part 2 process, is all of us being anchored to the next step here. One quick story I'd like to share is I had a neighbor who had mid back pain. And so I was actually taking the garbage out, and he was taking his out at the same time, and said, hey, Dr. Ben, my mid back is killing me and it won't go away. Can I come see you today? So I, hey, call the office. He sets the appointment, he comes in. He tells me that he can't come back for a week because he's going on vacation. So I just like, okay. So, he wanted to come in. He knows he's got a problem. So I think, I don't have to push. He gets it. So we don't see him again. And I noticed that I run across him in the neighborhood, a few weeks later, and he's avoiding me. So then finally he comes, we cross paths again. He comes over, he goes, I'm thinking of suing you. Like, what? You blew me off. Like, what? How are you suing me? He goes, you really acted like I didn't have, and this is the big point of this. He goes, you acted like there was nothing wrong with me. Like, I did, like, because I know my script. I know I had you telling me you were dying. We agreed you were dying of a heart attack because of your mid back pain. So I was wondering, how did he get to that point? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, I told you I was going on away vacation, and you and your staff were fine with it. He goes, so I assumed there's nothing serious. And here's the crazy part. He goes, I showed those x-rays to my orthopedist, and he said, you have a dangerous subluxation. That's what his orthopedist said. You have a dangerous subluxation. Because you let me walk out of there with a dangerous problem and just let me go on vacation and did not say anything. And then when I didn't come back, you didn't do anything to try and get in touch with me. So I'm suing you. And so, I backpedaled and apologized and talked him out of suing me, but realized, like, my God, when we let somebody walk out of there and say they're on vacation, and we don't hunt them down and stalk them until they get back in, what we're telling them is, you know what? Yeah, no, it's not that important. It's not that serious. So even though we agreed he was dying on day 1, my actions and my lack of follow-up and my team's lack of follow-up, all of that spoke louder than my words on day 1, because who you are speaks louder than what you say. My actions, who I am, spoke louder and showed him that we didn't think it was important. So now, if you say you're going on vacation, we say cancel your vacation. If you say you got a Christmas party tomorrow, we say cancel Christmas. If you say that you've got a test tomorrow, call your professor, tell them you've got to take a retest. So that's our attitude. Now, you may resist that, and that's your problem. But I'm reporting to you that you've got a serious issue, and you need to get back at our very first appointment tomorrow. Or you need to stay here longer and make a phone call and let dad know he needs to pick up the kids. Or you need to let the pastor know Wednesday night you won't be there. Or just like you've skipped that service 1,000 other times, you're going to miss church on Wednesday, because that's the report when you're going to see what's going on here, and we're going to save your life. So that's our attitude. Now, some of the people, after letting them know that 3 times, they may still push it off. But at least at that point, my neighbor would have said, well, okay, well, I'm dying. They're committed to the fact that I'm dying and I've got a serious problem. I'm screwing it up by going on vacation for a week. At least he knows it's on him. But that story is important because when I didn't try to get him to cancel his Christmas and cancel his vacation, it was on me. It was I blew it when I didn't do my part. So that is so critical. No matter how many days you do this in, when you're going through these three parts, your commitment to these three parts is critical. And what I'm sensing now for all of your offices is this is anywhere from 80% to 70%, 82%, it gets soft. And one thing I share all the time is that even for me, it gets soft if I haven't done all the things we started with here. I haven't focused on my why. I haven't checked my why on a weekly and daily and even by the shift basis. And not even by the shift, but by the day two, by the part two, by the part one, by the DR. Is my why at 100%? Am I fully on purpose? Is my identity fully in check as I walk into a day one? There's a principle actually they talk about at AMC. Dr. Owen teaches it. He calls it the doorknob principle. I want you to write this down. It's the doorknob principle. Because before I turn that doorknob to walk into my clinic, before I turn that doorknob to walk into the day one, the part two, the report, before I turn the knob and walk into that room, am I ready? Am I on purpose? Am I on fire? Is my why in check? Is my identity at the level it needs to be? Is that there? Otherwise, I'm not ready. Something else we share is that for me, where it gets soft, if I have not trained on this, how many of you know, because I just walked you through your day two, that if a day two or part two just walked into my office right now, I would crush it. I'm going to nail it because I just practiced it. But if I hadn't practiced it, then it's an 80%. I always say whatever you haven't practiced intensively in 2 weeks, you suck at. And by suck, I just mean it's an 80%, it's an 87%. And then the result is different. So I have people all the time, I'm suddenly seeing conversions go down, or Christmas is killing us, or the economy is bad in my area. I was talking to a new doc 2 days ago up in Maine. Oh, well, you don't know about Maine. That doesn't happen in Maine. They don't pay that much in Maine. They don't come in that much in Maine. You don't know about our economy here. You don't know about our seasons here. And I'm like, hey, doc, are you hearing yourself? Are you serious? You want me to come up to Maine and open up a 2,000 a week clinic in your waiting room? Because I'll do it. It's not about seasons. Are we ready? And so, are we at 100% today? So we've got to be training. So as a team, if you have to make the doctor commit to it, have we trained on these critical procedures and processes every 2 weeks so that we're hot, we're good at it, we excel? If we're on God's side, He expects us to excel. If He's going to trust us and keep sending people. With processes, I say whatever we have not trained on as a team in 6 weeks, if we're not going through our processes every 6 weeks in our meetings, not only do we start to really be bad at it, parts of it start to disappear. Parts of part one, parts of part two, parts of part three not only get soft or lax, but actually even go away. So a lot of this is our preparation. A lot of it's our training. So all those things you heard at CCC with the miracles and the volume and God showing up in these clinics, you got to realize there's the practicality behind it. There's your process behind it. And it's really not, I know it sounds hard, but again, I spend 30 minutes a week in my processes with putting those newsletters and maybe an hour and a half to include the text. I've got what I do to start my days off and the huddles before shifts. So we're not talking about tens of hours a week. When we talk about training, it's just what we do at our team meeting every week. For doctors, it's what you do at your doctor meeting, your doctor training, whether it's by yourself or with other doctors, for your 30 minutes a week. So it's just a process we're all in to create the kind of miracles you heard from that stage. When the students said to me on a call this week, we want cancer patients getting well in our clinic. We want people coming from other countries in our clinics. It's like, well, how committed are you going to be to your why, to you being ready, and to your processes? So as a takeaway from this call, let's commit to putting all that together. Just How do we map out that week so that we are ready? We're building up our why. We're ready to go before we turn that doorknob. Walk in there and nail those scripts, and be present with people that God loves. As a team, that we're ready to hold up the fence. We don't let people out of here unless we've achieved our objective.